The Detroit Pistons suffer a very, very tough loss to the New York Knicks. First home playoff game since 2019. They lose this game 116-118. What went wrong in this game for the Detroit Pistons? We'll answer that in today's episode, Locked On Pistons Podcast. Let's go.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I am your host, Khahil. You can find me over on Twitter at Khahil. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Head to the description down below. Click on all the links. Playback room to watch the Pistons live with me and the rest of the Pistons fan base. Also, click the link to the Substack to get film breakdowns and written analysis on your Detroit Pistons. Also, head over to LockedOnDaily.com. Type in your email. You'll get a Locked On Pistons daily newsletter along with your Locked On Pistons daily podcast. The Detroit Pistons lose this game 118-116. Later on, I want to talk about specifically the Knicks counter that they had in this game that I thought was really smart and really hurt the Detroit Pistons in this game. And then also later on, we'll talk about why Game 4 is an absolute must-win for your Detroit Pistons. But let's go ahead and talk about the game. 118-116, Pistons lose by 2. I want to make this clear from the get-go, though, before we even talk about the game. So I was able to be credentialed for this game, covered my first Piston playoff game, which was really dope to be able to do. I want to give massive credit to all of the fans that showed up and showed out for your Detroit Pistons in this game. This was the first playoff game since 2019. And again, we've talked about it throughout the year, but this team's so different from that team, where that team, it felt like you knew that it wasn't going nowhere. You felt like you knew that they weren't probably going to win a playoff game. You knew that they weren't going to be able to win this series. This team has hope, not just for this year, but for next year and the year after and the year after and the year after. There is something building with this team, and there's a lot of hope and there's a lot of love behind this team from the fan base. And the fans absolutely showed up and showed out in this game. I could not hear myself think for the majority of this game. I was seeing other Knicks media people in the media row sitting there like, whoa, this is crazy. This is loud as ever. I'm scrolling through Twitter looking at people that traveled to Detroit to come watch the game. They're like, oh my God, this place is loud as ever. This place is loud as hell. The Pistons fan base absolutely deserve as much credit as possible for showing up and supporting this team. And this team, this franchise, the players, the coaches, the front office, they should all be aware. I mean, Cade was talking about before the game, last few days, I'm interested to see what Pistons playoff basketball looks like. So was Jalen Duren, Asar Thompson, Isaiah Stewart. All of them were wondering what this team, what this city would look like when a playoff game comes to the Little Caesars Arena, and they got to see it. Their fans will show up and show out. These fans in Detroit love basketball. They love the Detroit Pistons. You give them something to root for, you give them something to get behind, and they will get behind it. And I'm really it was so crazy and such a electric and fun atmosphere, not just during the game, but before the game, all the stuff going on, how packed the place was. It was such an enjoyable environment that I might be going out to Game 4 just to buy some tickets and show up there as well. Show up to Game 4 as well, because that's how fun and electric the environment was. So I had to start off the podcast giving multiple shout-outs to the Pistons fan base. They did an absolute incredible job showing up for this team and backing up their franchise. So wanted to give you guys credit for that. But obviously, look, the Pistons had chances to win this game at the end. They were trailing for the majority of this game. They would fight back, go on a run, 4-point game, then the Knicks would answer with 2 threes. Then the Pistons would go on a run, cut it to 5, and then the Knicks would answer with 2 threes. Go on a run, cut it to 3. Then the Knicks would go on a run and hit 2 more threes. The Pistons they kept answering back. They stayed in the game. They kept getting to this 3-point hump, but just couldn't get over this hump. In the fourth quarter, they found themselves in a one-possession game late in this game with the ball in their hands twice. THJ missed an open three. He had an incredible game, but missed an open three. Really could have helped them. And then Cade had a chance to score at the rim after delivering a really nice move on OG Anunoby and just couldn't finish the basket. Or couldn't finish at the rim. They had multiple chances at the end of this game to tie the game, to take the lead, and they just couldn't answer. It is what it is. Sometimes you make the play, sometimes you don't. That's how it goes in the playoffs, man. You got to make the plays when they're available, or it'll come back to bite you. And that's what happened for the Pistons tonight. They were trailing for most of the game, but still, because of how hard they were fighting and how they stayed locked in, they were able to keep it a game and give themselves a chance late. They just couldn't deliver. There's a few guys that they're going to need if they are going to win this series. If they're still going to come back and have a chance to win this series, being down now 2-1 and losing home court again, they are going to need Malik Beasley to shoot a lot better. Malik Beasley shot 2 of 10 in this game from deep. They need him to shoot much better from beyond the arc, and a lot of his shots were clean looks. He got a lot of clean looks in this game, and he just wasn't able to hit it. In a game where THJ went 7 of 12, in a game where Dennis Schroeder went 4 of 6 from deep, if Malik Beasley is also hitting, the Pistons probably win this game by 5+. But Malik Beasley was just off. He was cold throughout the game. He did hit a big-time three at the end to kind of keep hope alive for the Pistons with like around 30 seconds left in the game. But outside of that, he was nowhere to be found for the majority of the game, was really struggling, and his impact on this team, his shot making, we talked about before the playoffs, his shot making is incredibly important. It's been so important to the Pistons half-court offense all year, and if he's going to go cold at the worst time, the Pistons are really going to struggle to score in the half-court. That's one. Two, you saw the impact of Tobias Harris, and you saw the impact of the Pistons not really having a backup four in this team. That will be, I think, either upgrading the starting four or getting the backup four is going to be the number one priority for the Pistons this offseason. Because Tobias Harris got in foul trouble. We'll talk about this a little later with the Knicks counters. He got into foul trouble, and it absolutely ruined everything for the Pistons. My alarm just went off. Sorry about that. In the 31 minutes that Tobias Harris played, the Pistons won his minutes by 20. They won his minutes by 20. Or not 20. Excuse me. I'm looking at my alarm. I have another one set for 20 minutes, but I don't know why. I'm sorry. They won his minutes by 10. My goodness. They won his minutes by 10. 31 minutes. When he left the floor, they didn't have anyone that could guard Cat, and they don't have anyone off the bench that has his size that can punish mismatches and battle Cat down low. So when he wasn't able to play, last game he played 43 minutes. This game he would have played closer to 40 minutes if he wasn't in foul trouble. And along with that, he didn't shoot very well from the floor as well. He shot 2 of 9 in this game, 1 of 3 from deep. They really needed Tobias to not only remain on the floor, but to hit shots. And if you want me to be honest, I think that even without Tobias hitting shots, if he was just simply on the floor to guard Cat, the Pistons would have had a really good chance to win this game. But because he was off the floor for so long, and because he was in foul trouble, it really, really hurt the Detroit Pistons. And I think him being in foul trouble and Malik Beasley going completely cold in this game really killed the Pistons and was one of the main reasons why they lost this game. So let me know what you think. Why did the Pistons lose this game? Let me know, comment section down below or over on Twitter at Khahil. Coming up, I think the Knicks went with a counter that was incredibly smart, and now the Pistons have to find a way to respond to this counter. I'll tell you guys what that was when we come back. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all the money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So you just stop managing money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year at monarchmoney.com. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Click the links in the description down below. The Watch Party Room. Also the Substack if you want film breakdowns of written analysis from me as well. Also head over to LockedOnDaily.com. Type in your email and you'll get a Locked On Pistons daily newsletter along with your Locked On Pistons daily podcast. All right, so the Pistons heading into this series, there was a lot of talk about how they would guard Jalen Brunson, how would they guard Karl-Anthony Towns, how would they guard OG Anunoby. And through the first two games, it was made very clear that the Pistons would put Jalen Duren on Josh Hart and then guard Karl-Anthony Towns with Tobias Harris. And it worked through two games. It did. Then in this game, Karl-Anthony Towns went off for 31 points on 18 shots. OG Anunoby had 22 on 17 shots. And Mikal Bridges had 20 on 13 shots. Those guys showed up and delivered. Jalen Brunson, while he ended with 30 points, if you watched the game, the Pistons had done a really good job on Brunson. He was 6 of 17 at one point. In the fourth quarter, he hit 4 free throws. He hit some dagger shots. But for 95% of the game, the Pistons had done a great job defending Jalen Brunson. The Knicks, though, I thought smartly responded by, there was a lot of talk after last game about Karl-Anthony Towns not getting any shots up in the fourth quarter, not scoring. A lot of talk about it. We talked about on this podcast that OG Anunoby was nowhere to be found. After all that talk, he was nowhere to be found. And I talked about this with Locked On Knicks hosts Gavin and Alex before the series. I thought for the Knicks, when we previewed like the Knicks side of things, I said the Knicks' best case scenario to win this series was not to go straight through Jalen Brunson. It was to go through OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, and Karl-Anthony Towns. And through the first two games, I don't think they did that. They did a lot of dribbling with Jalen Brunson. And the Pistons have, I think, one of the best matchups for Jalen Brunson in Ausar Thompson, who only played 18 minutes in this game. I'm not really sure why. He was a part of their big run in the third quarter, played really well in that third quarter, then just didn't play in the fourth. I thought that was really questionable. The Pistons went with a non-defensive lineup after they cut the lead to 2, and then the Knicks went on a quick run instantly to go up 10 because the Pistons didn't have any size on the floor. The Pistons played a lineup of Cade, THJ, Malik, Schroeder, and Duren. And then with Reed. Too small. They were just too small. I don't really get that. Don't know why Ausar didn't play in the fourth. You would have liked to be able to get some stops, especially late on Brunson, who went 4 of 6, but especially because Ausar wasn't in foul trouble, but it is what it is. The Knicks went through Karl-Anthony Towns a ton. They went through Mikal Bridges a ton. They went through OG Anunoby a ton. And because they did this, one, Karl-Anthony Towns got Tobias Harris in foul trouble. And now what happened with that then moves Jalen Duren onto Karl-Anthony Towns. And Jalen Duren, while, look, I said this during the game on Twitter, I'll say it here. Jalen Duren, I don't care about the outcome of this game so much with this. Jalen Duren was absolutely battling his bleep off. He was giving it everything he possibly had. Every single second he was on the floor, he was giving it everything. He was working. He had 16 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. It wasn't like he had a fantastic game. I'm not saying he dominated the game. But when you could tell, you could see the effort that he was giving. Every single second he was on the floor, you can respect that. And I have massive respect for that. He was rotating constantly to the rim. He was chasing down loose balls. He was getting on the ground. He was constantly hustling up and down the court, getting back in. He was giving it everything he possibly had in this game. You can only be proud of that. an incredibly young guy, incredibly young big man. He's going to have ups and downs. But what you want is that effort, and he gave the absolute most effort you possibly could ask for from him. With that said, he's not the best matchup for Cat. So once they got Tobias in foul trouble, now Jalen Duren's guarding Cat. And now Cat is able to get to the rim because now there's not as much helping coming from the weak side. You don't have a big guy roaming, helping off of Josh Hart coming over to help. And now Cat's able to get to the rim. Now Cat's able to draw free throws. He drew 7 free throws in this game. Jalen Duren's not as good in space. So now Karl-Anthony Towns, he gets 4 threes this game. For that last game, he only got 2 3-3s up. This game, he got 8 of them up. He was extremely aggressive in this game, and they went through him a ton. He had 31 points. He was the difference maker in this game. He was the best player on the floor. The Knicks made sure to play through Cat. They got Tobias in foul trouble. They attacked the Jalen Duren mismatch, and it worked out for him. That is a concern of mine moving forward for the Detroit Pistons because I do think they're not going to shut down Jalen Brunson. But like we talked about in the first 2 games, if it's taking them 27, 28 shots to get to 33 points, you're winning that. You're winning that. The Pistons' defense in the first 2 games was great. If Jalen Brunson's going to pound the rock and take 27 shots and shoot inefficiently, then you won. You've won that matchup. The problem is, and we talked about this before the series on the podcast, is that the Knicks have other matchups that they could go to if they do decide to exploit it that could really cause problems for the Pistons. Now, something that was also talked about was would Tibbs be willing to go those matchups? Through the first 2 games, he wasn't. It was a lot of Brunson. It was a lot of pounding the dribble by Brunson. It was a lot of ISO Brunson. And then in this game, you see 20 shots from Brunson, 18 from Cat, 17 from Anunoby, 13 from Khahil. They evened out the usage much more offensively, and Mikal Bridges attacked THJ. He attacked Malik Beasley. OG Anunoby, he attacked Malik Beasley. He attacked Tim Hardaway Jr. Heck, even Dennis Schroeder at times was guarding him. There were actually, just real quickly, this just brought something to my mind. This is to deviate from the point a little bit. There was a few possessions in that third quarter stretch when they went no defense lineup, which that no defense lineup, we've been complaining about that on the podcast for weeks. It never works. I don't know why they consistently do it. This team, offense comes from their defense. They come back into games, they win games because of their defense feeding their offense. They do not have enough offensive creation to go a full offensive lineup, and also they don't have enough two-way players to also hold up defensively. It never works. But anyways, Schroeder was guarding Cat at times in that third quarter at the end. Go look it up. If you were watching the game, there was a few times that Schroeder and Malik Beasley were switched on to Cat because they didn't have anyone else bigger than them. It was ridiculous. But Mikal was going against smaller matchups, and they went through him. OG had smaller matchups. They went through him. Anytime Cat got the switch, they immediately played through him. That's something that if the Knicks continue to play through, if they continue to try to leverage those matchups, it's tough. I don't know how exactly the Pistons' rotations, you can send help and just be crisp with their rotation in the backside. OG, Mikal, and Cat are not good passers off a live dribble. So if you send help and then have great rotations in the back end, you can try to take advantage of that. Mikal had 3 turnovers, so did Cat had 2. OG had 2. So that's something you could do. You can try to send help and force them to be playmakers, which none of them are very good passers at all. I mean, OG had 0 assists. Cat had 1. Between the 3 of them, they had 7 turnovers to 4 assists. So I think that's something you can do. But in a one-on-one situation, the Pistons don't really have answers to that. They don't have big wings. They can't play Asar and Ron at the same time. And Asar is going to be checking Jalen Brunson. So if the Knicks want to play through OG, and if they get Tobias in foul trouble and that doesn't allow... See, that this is the thing, too, is that if Tobias is in foul trouble, you can't have Duren roam off a Hart. And Duren roaming off a Hart doesn't just impact Cat. It impacts Mikal. It impacts OG. Because that cuts off driving lanes. That cuts off the rim. And that's one of the reasons why they both struggled so much in this last game. This game, OG was able to get to the rim. He was able to get some free throws. He got to the free throw line 6 times. If they get Tobias in foul trouble and that forces Duren to then guard Cat, the Pistons are forced to then guard one-on-one against guys they're much smaller than. Mikal is much bigger than Malik. OG is much bigger than Malik. They're both much bigger than THJ. They're both much bigger than Dennis Schroeder. The Pistons just don't have the size to match up with those guys. So if Tobias is going to get in foul trouble, they're really going to struggle. They're really going to struggle without him on the floor. Especially if for some reason JV Bickerstaff decides not to play Asar, which he only played 18 minutes and didn't play at all in this fourth quarter, which, again, I think was incredibly questionable, especially with how good he was playing in that third. He was one of the main reasons why they came back into that third. His defense and playmaking was popping in that third quarter. He was playing extremely well. So I think that's an area where the Pistons are at a disadvantage, and it's gonna require discipline from Tobias to not get in foul trouble. He had 5 fouls in this game. And it's going to require some creativity from the coaching staff for, in these situations, if Tobias is off the floor, how are you going to guard these bigger wings? And I'm going to tell you right now, before we move on, the answer cannot be go offense. You cannot put a lineup out there of Cade, Malik Beasley, THJ, and Dennis Schroeder on the floor. You cannot do it. You are too small. You are playing a team with big wings. They will out-rebound you. They will push transition. They will finish at the basket. They will draw fouls. That's exact. Pistons got whistled for 28 fouls tonight. Josh Hart had 11 rebounds. Mikal Bridges had 7 rebounds. They cannot play small. They cannot play that small against that lineup. It's not going to work. So, Tobias, you need to stay out of foul trouble for the Pistons. And then if he does get in foul trouble, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think the Pistons should do? The easiest answer here is Tobias, stay out of foul trouble and just hope and continue to roam off a Hart and rotate on the backside. But if Tobias does get in foul trouble like tonight, what can the Pistons do? What should the Pistons do once that happens against guys like Mikal, OG, and Karl-Anthony Towns? Let me know. Comment section down below or over on Twitter at Khahil. Game 4 is an absolute must-win for the Detroit Pistons. I'll tell you guys why when we come back. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. Head to the description down below. Click on those links. Also, head over to LockedOnDaily.com. Type in your email, and you will get a Locked On Pistons daily newsletter along with your Locked On Pistons daily podcast. All right, so look. Game 4, if the Detroit Pistons want to have a chance to win this series, they have to win Game 4. For the obvious reason of, you go down 3-1, it's cooked. You go down 3-1, you're absolutely cooked. You're not going back to, you might go back to New York, win a game, and then lose in 6. But if you go down 3-1, this series is absolutely cooked. Game 4 is also a must-win because you have to win a game on your home court. You can't go 0-for on your home court. The fans are here. They're getting wild. They're supporting you. You cannot go 0-for at your home court. You just can't. But the obvious reason is you can't go down 3-1. You're not coming back from 3-1 in this series. The series will be done at that point. What can the Pistons do to make sure they win this Game 4? Cade Cunningham has to play much better. He shot 10 of 25 in this game, 40% from the field. Only got to the free throw line 3 times, which my concerns from the last podcast, I think, came through. Tibbs went to the postgame presser. He complained. He cried. Said Brunson should get more foul calls than Cade. And then in this game, Cade had 3 free throws. Brunson had 13. Now, the Pistons did have 27 free throws. Knicks had 29. I'm not saying the refs are why the Pistons lost. I'm not saying their officiating was favoring one side. I thought the officiating, if you want to be honest, I thought the officiating was pretty weak, but towards both teams. I would have liked to see I would have liked to see a little bit more physicality allowed like it was in the first 2 games. But, it wasn't. Physicality was not allowed as much within this game. Cade didn't get to the free throw line nearly as much. I mean, this is the thing. This is the thing I don't understand about Cade and this free throw stuff. He had 25 shots. 5 of them were threes. That means he had 20 shots that were twos. A lot of those were in the paint at the rim. There's no way you can tell me a player who drives to the rim as much as Cade and takes as many shots at the rim as Cade does only gets 3 free throws. And this isn't a Knicks series thing. This isn't a Knicks officiating, let's go back and forth complain about the officiating thing. This has nothing to do really with the Knicks. This has been an issue all year for the Pistons. This has been an issue all year for Cade. He's been all year consistently at the top of the league in drives per game. He's consistently been at the top of the league in paint touches. He's consistently been at the top of the league in getting to the rim. But yet, he doesn't draw free throws. And throughout this game, he was complaining to the refs. He was pulling the refs to the side. And it felt like every single dead ball, every single timeout, he's trying to talk to these refs. And he wasn't getting any respect from the calls tonight. From the refs tonight, I should say. Again, free throws are not why the Pistons lost. Officiating was not why they lost. But it's just something that I'm kind of getting sick of throughout this year. It's been like this all year. I don't get why Cade doesn't get foul calls on shots at the rim. 3 free throws for a guy that took 22s is pretty insane to me, but it is what it is. A guy that drives consistently as much as Cade does, I don't get it. But nonetheless, 10 of 25 isn't going to do it. He was inefficient from the floor. He wasn't creating easy enough looks. They didn't do a good enough job of getting OG Anunoby off of him. They did do a lot of what we talked about in the film breakdown on my Substack yesterday, and what we talked about in the podcast a bit too. They did bring up a lot of guards in screening action, but because Malik didn't shoot very well in this game, it just wasn't as effective. Also, I thought the Knicks did a much better job, OG especially, did a much better job of getting over these screens, staying attached to Cade, and their guards were doing a much better job of showing and getting back in time. They also were doing a good job of having their hands in the passing lanes. Cade had 6 turnovers in this game. Look, the Knicks are employing a strategy that's going to happen throughout the rest of this game, the rest of this series, I should say. And it's going to happen until Cade has a real secondary creator where they're just trapping him extremely aggressively, and they're going to throw a lot of bodies at him. OG's doing a good job of staying attached, but there is also a lot of bodies coming his way, and he has to figure out a way to get through that. He had a few shots tonight that I'm sure he wants back, a few middies that he would like back. But also when he gets to the rim, he's seeing a lot of bodies. He saw Cat at the rim quite a few times. Mitchell Robinson at the rim quite a few times. He needs to be able to turn some of those looks at the rim into either free throw attempts or shorten up the drive a little bit and go to that floater like we saw in the last game. Either way, the Pistons need their star to shoot a lot better than 10 of 25. And the fact that they lost this game by 2, despite him shooting 10 of 25, should be a good sign for the Pistons. Because I don't think Cade's going to struggle like that every game. Didn't have a great first game, came back, bounced back, had a great second game, Pistons won. Didn't have the greatest game this game, Pistons lose. I think he'll come back next game and play much better. I think that will give the Pistons a chance to win. But they need their best player to play much better. That's number 1. They need Malik to shoot a lot better. That's number 2. They need Tobias to stay out of foul trouble. And look, final 2 things I'll say. Ausar cannot play 18 minutes. He just can't. He's too impactful to this team. I don't understand why he only played 18 minutes. Again, especially in that second half in the fourth quarter when the Pistons need to get stops. Jalen Brunson in the fourth quarter of this game had 12 points. Ausar didn't play a single minute. He's the main defender on him, and they let Jalen Brunson just ice him out this game. They needed defense. They needed stops to get out in transition. And I don't get it. So I think Ausar has to play more. He cannot play 18 minutes, especially when he's not in foul trouble. He has to play more than that. And then secondly, the whole team, and this is tough. This is going to be a tough one to do because they want to play physical. And if the refs aren't going to allow it, then so be it. But the Pistons cannot keep fouling this much. The refs, I don't think the refs were great tonight. But nonetheless, if this is how the refs are going to call it, they have to adjust throughout the game. Because I'll tell you this much. The Pistons are not going to win games when the Knicks are in the bonus as often as they are throughout the game. then if you're going to allow the Knicks to be in the bonus this often, you are not going to win the game. If you're going to have this many people in foul trouble throughout a game, you're not going to win. These are the foul counts in this game for the Pistons. Duren had 5. Tobias had 5. THJ had 4. Cade had 4. Asar had 4. Malik had 3. Schroeder had 2. Ron Holland had 1. They had damn near 30 fouls in this game. They combined for 28 fouls as a team. I think that's the most fouls in the playoffs any team has had. They were already at the top of the playoffs, averaging 22.5 fouls per game. They just had 6 more fouls than they were averaging in the playoffs in this game. So, look, I don't think the refs were allowing as much physicality as they were through the first 2 games. I wasn't a fan of it. I think they showed a lot of physicality on both ends. But they weren't. The Pistons need to adjust to that. They can't be putting the Knicks in this kind of, in the bonus throughout this game and having guys struggling with fouls throughout the game. That has to be improved. That has to get better. So, Game 4, must win. They're down 2-1. Hope is not lost. There's at home still. They have a good home court advantage. They have fans behind them that can rock their arena and kind of get to players on the opposing team. They have it. They have the home court advantage in Game 4. Hope is not lost. They just have to deliver. So let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Khahil. How do you guys feel after this game? Do you guys think they'll win Game 4? What adjustments do they have to make? Who needs to play better and why? Let me know again, comment section down below or over on Twitter at Khahil. That's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you to all of you guys who came up to me. I had probably like 30 plus of you guys come up and ask to take pictures and say what's up to me. I appreciate all of you guys. If you guys took a picture with me and you haven't tagged me on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, make sure you guys tag me so I see all the pictures. A lot of you guys took the pictures and I don't get tagged in any of them. I don't get to see them. Like, come on. I want to see you, see the pictures. But appreciate all of you guys. Stay tuned for Game 4. Show up and show out on Sunday. The Pistons fan base is lit. They are definitely showing up and showing out. Everyone sees them. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe out there. And until next time, peace out.